Royal Institute of Strategic Studies. Human development and institutional building under the enlightened leadership of His Majesty King Mohammed VI. May God help him. Public policies and the main achievements in Morocco. By Mr. Mohammed Tawfiq Moline, Director General of the IRIS. July 2024. Page 3. This document highlights, on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the enthronement of His Majesty King Mohammed VI, may God assist him, the strategic choices, public policies and the main achievements in Morocco since 1999. It does not claim to be exhaustive given the multitude of projects undertaken under the enlightened guidance of the sovereign, and in no way constitutes an evaluation of the public policies carried out. The strategic choices of Morocco, as they are presented below, emanate from the royal speeches and messages and consequently from the royal vision, which highlights the preeminence of the Moroccan within the framework of a citizen monarchy, dedicates the institutions to the service of the citizens, favors participation in proximity, favors the concrete and the tangible, and ensures the impact on the populations. Before reviewing these strategic choices, these public policies and these achievements, it is worth recalling the fundamentals of the Moroccan nation. 1. The foundations of the Moroccan nation: the Pact of Allegiance, Imarat al-Mu'minin, the plural Moroccan identity and the mobilization for the national cause are the solid and lasting foundation, inherited and maintained, on which the construction of a strong and modern Moroccan state can continue. In Morocco, the Moroccan monarchical institution is based on the symbiosis that unites the sovereign to his people and which crystallizes through the founding pact of the Bia, allegiance. The link of the Bia, a sacred heritage that draws its substance from the Quran and the tradition of the Prophet, has shaped the Moroccan identity and given it its specificity and authenticity. He thus contributed powerfully to forging the historical personality of the kingdom. The commander of the believers, descendant of the Prophet, is the guardian figure guarantor of the free exercise of worship for all and the rights of Muslims as well as non-Muslims. He is vested with the responsibility of the spiritual security of the kingdom, preserving the Malachite rite and the Akarit dogma. The Moroccan identity takes advantage of its secular roots, its dynamism and its ability to open up to others. She stands out for her appetite for novelty and for her tropism for moderation and tolerance. In this identity, we can read at first glance the nodal position of Morocco, at the confluence, since always, of diverse cultures as well as the ancestral capacity of the kingdom to enrich itself and to synthesize them. The Amazigh, Arab, Andalusian and Hebrew legacies are found there, with a Saharo-African and Mediterranean depth anchored in the long time of the nation. Morocco places the defense of its territorial integrity at the top of its priorities. It is not limited to a simple border dispute. It is an existential issue, bearing on an essential constituent of the identity of the nation. Part of the wake of advanced regionalization and respect for national sovereignty. All the vital forces of the United Kingdom are united around the sacred national cause. The recovery by Morocco of its territorial integrity was done under the aegis of international legality and the economic and social development of the southern provinces. The Moroccanness of the Sahara is today reinforced by a growing international recognition, in particular that of the United States and many European countries, and by the opening of about 30 consular representations in the cities of Dakhla and Laayoune by African and Arab countries including the United Arab Emirates. The southern provinces have a level of human development above the national average and benefit from economic growth representing almost double the national rate. 2. The construction of a new paradigm. The new paradigm, wanted and conceived by the sovereign, is expressed through the profound complementarity between the emergence of a singular national model and the drawing of a new relationship of the kingdom to the world, which consecrates the centrality of the African continent. 2.1. Opting for a singular Moroccan model upon his accession to the throne, His Majesty King Mohammed VI, rejecting any following of exogenous examples, resolutely commits the country to a singular, Moroccan model, which aims to strengthen the foundations of a democratic society, to ensure the modernization of local governance, to promote citizenship, freedom and participation as well as systematic respect for human rights. This model has set itself the following objectives: to undertake the management of the public sector, by making the new concept of authority a true doctrine of power. It is of a binding nature for the state and concerns all holders of authority. It means the requirement of accountability, the fight against all forms of corruption and the preservation of the dignity and rights of citizens within the framework of the rule of law, by relying at the same time on innovative texts of laws, reforms and the establishment of constitutionalized institutions, such as the Competition Council, the Court of Auditors, the National Authority for Probity, Prevention and Fight Against Corruption and the Institute of the Ombudsman. To redesign territorial management thanks to the implementation, from 2010, of the Advanced Regionalization Project, the New Revolution of the King and the People, enshrined in the Constitution and a progressive roadmap including the Administrative Devolution Charter and program contracts binding the state and the regions. Page 5. To make systematic the good practices inherent in human rights, by inscribing in the Constitution the defense of human rights, by proceeding to the accession of Morocco to numerous international conventions, by upgrading the national legislative framework and by creating dedicated institutions. The National Council for Human Rights and the Interministerial Delegation dedicated to human rights. The creation, in April 2004, of the Equality and Reconciliation Body is an exemplary emanation of the singular Moroccan model of transitional justice. This experiment has been recognized internationally as a success. Morocco's efforts to promote human rights have been crowned by the kingdom's election as president of the UN Human Rights Council for the year 2024. To lay the foundations of the social state through the National Initiative for Human Development, launched in May 2005, which is undeniably a project of the reign of His Majesty King Mohammed VI and a pioneering initiative with assumed ambition, the eradication of poverty and the fight against disparities. Ranked by the World Bank, in 2015, in the top 3 of the best high-impact social programs in the world, the National Initiative for Human Development has contributed to the expansion of civil society. Nearly 8 out of 10 associations have been created since 2005. Other major reforms have been able to emerge. These include, in particular, the adoption, in 2021, of the framework law relating to the generalization of social protection, the operationalization, from 2023, of the Unified Social Register to improve the impact of social policies on the population and ensure better targeting of the vulnerable population, according to determined socioeconomic criteria, and the start, at the end of 2023, of the National Program of Direct Social and Financial Assistance to Households. Ensure the modernization of justice, the foundation of the rule of law, in order to consolidate the trust of the litigant, by raising it in the new Constitution of 2011, to the rank of judicial power, with a strengthening of its independence. The reform of the justice system has materialized through the adoption of new legislative and regulatory texts, the establishment of judicial institutions such as the Supreme Council of the Judiciary, the installation of the Constitutional Court in 2013 and the delimitation of the competences of these last 2 institutions. Page 6. 2.2. To establish a new relationship with the world, proud of the historical anchorage and the civilizational influence of the kingdom and strong of the advances and modern achievements in the country, His Majesty King Mohammed VI aspires to make the voice of Morocco heard in the concert of nations. It undertakes a transmutation of national diplomacy, and this, through the following actions: to build a new diplomacy, the soft power of the kingdom, which must be at the service of the social, democratic and modernist project of Morocco and allow, consequently, the decompartmentalization of the traditionally distinct spheres of domestic and foreign policies, a dynamic, anticipatory diplomacy, which joins the act to the word. The construction of the new diplomacy has made it possible to position the kingdom, in 2024, among the 50 most influential countries in the world, according to the British firm Brand Finance, and to make Morocco a privileged destination to host global events. More recently, the kingdom hosted in December 2023, for the first time on African soil, the General Assemblies of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which took place in Marrakesh. On the climate front, Morocco's leadership was illustrated by the organization of 2 Conference of the Parties, COP, on climate change, namely COP7 in 2001 and COP22 in 2016. As part of religious diplomacy, the kingdom has invested in the training of imams and the promotion of a tolerant Islam through the establishment of the European Council of Moroccan Ulama, in 2010, the Mohammed VI Institute for the Training of Imam Preachers, in 2015, and the Mohammed VI Foundation of African Ulama, in 2015. Regarding the security aspect, Morocco's action in the fight against terrorism and organized crime is recognized on a global scale. It resulted in the choice of the kingdom, in 2021, as a partner for the opening in Rabat of the Office of the United Nations Programme for the Fight Against Terrorism and Training in Africa. Morocco is among the top 11 contributing countries to United Nations peacekeeping operations. Finally, with regard to digital diplomacy, it is necessary to cite the joint proposal of Morocco and the United States for the first UN resolution on artificial intelligence. She is the founder of an international action for collective global management and governance of artificial intelligence. To revitalize the Euro-Mediterranean Pact in relations with the European Union, with which Morocco has, since 2008, an advanced status and, since 2019, a partnership for shared prosperity, which implies a paradigm shift based on equality, and with the United States of America, countries with which relations have been governed since 2006 by a strategic partnership, which covers the strengthening of economic relations through the Free Trade Agreement, security cooperation and the fight against terrorism. Page 7. Diversify partnerships towards new geographical areas, such as China, Russia, Brazil and India, countries linked to Morocco by a strategic partnership, but also new regional groups and forums, like the Economic Community of West African States and the Gulf Cooperation Council. After the establishment of a free trade area in 2004, with Tunisia, Egypt and Jordan, Morocco concluded, in 2012, in Manama, an action plan for the period 2012 to 2017, extended to 2019, which regulates relations with the countries of the Gulf Cooperation Council. In particular, a free trade agreement was concluded with the United Arab Emirates in 2003. At the end of the royal visit of December 4, 2023, a joint declaration was signed towards an innovative, renewed and rooted partnership between Morocco and the United Arab Emirates, rethinking bilateralism and multilateralism by advocating the resizing of multilateral diplomacy, with a view to building a planetary patriotism. Reforming the UN Charter, restructuring the Security Council, deepening the tripartite cooperation model, promoting South-South cooperation are all aspirations of Morocco. Reconfigure South-South cooperation in order to enable the regional groups of the South to face the challenges of globalization and to ensure their sustainable development through regional integration, with an emphasis on the economic dimension at the level of cooperation. Major competitive economic poles will thus be able to emerge, among which the African pole. In this regard, it was initiated, in 2016, the Mega Atlantic Africa Gas Pipeline Project, Morocco-Nigeria, which aims to promote stability and socio-economic development at the regional level and beyond, as well as to promote the integration of the African continent. Proposed, in 2023, the Atlantic Initiative, which aims to consolidate security, stability and shared prosperity at the level of the 23 Atlantic African states and to allow the Sahel states access to the Atlantic Ocean. To work for culture. The Kingdom, which organizes annual festivals dedicated to the promotion of Moroccan culture in several cities, has, in 2023, 9 sites inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List and 14 cultural sites inscribed on the list of World Intangible Heritage. To promote dialogue between civilizations by considering that there is only a clash between ignorance, Morocco makes its contribution to this great purpose, which adds up by respecting the identities and cultures of all, and this, through, among others, its contribution to the creation of the foundation of the 3 cultures, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, under the high patronage of His Majesty the King of Morocco and His Majesty the King of Spain in 2008, as well as the Mohammed VI Cultural Center for the Dialogue of Civilizations in 2013 in Chile. Page 8. In addition to the official visit of His Holiness Pope Francis and his historic meeting with the Sovereign, in 2019 in Rabat, Morocco hosted, on November 22 and 23, 2022, the 9th edition of the World Forum of the Alliance of Civilizations of the United Nations. He proposed, jointly with Saudi Arabia, Resolution 75-258 on the promotion of the culture of peace and tolerance for the protection of religious sites, adopted by the UN General Assembly in January 2021. The actions of His Majesty King Mohammed VI in favor of the dialogue of civilizations were crowned by the awarding to the Sovereign of the International Prize of the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, in 2019, which honors and preserves diversity and promotes tolerance, respect and understanding between religious and ethnic groups, the Jean Jaurès Peace Prize in 2021, in recognition of its great role in the dissemination of peace values inside and outside Morocco, and the Esquipulas Peace Prize in 2022 by the Forum of Presidents of the Legislative Powers of Central America, the Caribbean and Mexico, the highest distinction of this regional parliamentary organization. 2.3. Consecrating the centrality of the African continent. Morocco has always been turned towards Africa. Social relations, commercial flows, dogmatic and spiritual links are all civilizational markers of the ancestry of the kingdom's relations with its African depth. In his speeches, His Majesty King Mohammed VI reiterates the commitment of the sultans of Morocco in favor of the emancipation and development of the continent. He is the promoter of the emergence of Africa and its leadership to be built. To believe in Africa, a continent that has a significant human potential and contains important natural resources. Africa is perfectly able to fulfill itself and realize the aspirations of its women and men. This is the conviction of His Majesty the King, who has made more than 53 visits to 30 African countries. She can take control of her destiny. To rethink Africa and plead in its favor, by considering it, from now on, fully as an actor and no longer an object of international relations, by renouncing old and outdated patterns and inventing an innovative model to envisage its development. The continent, by breaking the shackles of marginalization, will be able to become part of a globalization with a human face. To promote win-win cooperation, strong exchanges of skills, sharing of expertise and transfers of capital and technologies, according to the sovereign, the human and social dimension is constantly at the heart of Morocco's action in favor of the continent. The upcoming development projects in the kingdom are intended to have, from their conception, an undeniable impact on the development of African countries. Page 9. Contribute to the various transitions of the African continent on the economic, social, environmental and security levels. Morocco is the first African investor in West Africa and the second in Africa. Its strong economic presence is reflected in the conclusion of 1,000 agreements since 2000 with about 40 African countries and the intervention of more than 1,000 operators in the construction, telecommunications, finance, renewable energy sectors. Casa Finance City is, since 2020, the first financial center in Africa, according to the ranking Global Financial Centers Index of the American firm ZN. Morocco's contribution to human development on a continental scale is multifaceted. Several actions have been carried out, in particular, the training of 5,000 administrative executives, 10,000 students per year, more than 80% of whom are fellows of the Moroccan government, diplomats and about 800 African officers. The kingdom's participation in the ecological transition was manifested by the organization of the first African Action Summit, on the sidelines of COP22 in 2016, which allowed the continent to express itself with one voice in favor of climate justice and to set the axes of a sustainable co-emergence, but also by the provision, as part of the continent's food security, of quality fertilizers adapted to the needs of soils and crops in Africa, and by the realization of the project to safeguard and enhance the Bay of Cocody in the economic capital of Côte d'Ivoire. Since its return to the African Union in January 2017, Morocco has been heavily involved in the various organs and structures of this organization. He has been a member of the Peace and Security Council of the African Union since 2022 and has been its president since February 1, 2024. 3. The response to adversity through economic development. For His Majesty King Mohammed VI, Morocco must make every effort and mobilize all energies in a spirit of self-sacrifice to carry out the great jihad to which his late grandfather His Majesty King Mohammed V had called. God bless his soul. The objective pursued is to create wealth and employment opportunities, and to ensure human development in order to allow the kingdom to be at the rendezvous of economic progress and solidarity on the social and spatial levels. The response to adversity through economic development is reflected in the construction of infrastructures, the implementation of sectoral strategies, the intensification of investment and the improvement of competitiveness. Page 10. 3.1. Building basic infrastructure. essential lever for the modernization and economic takeoff of Morocco. The construction of infrastructure according to international standards is among the major achievements of Morocco since the enthronement of His Majesty King Mohammed VI. It concerned the extension and densification of the motorway network from 327 kilometers to nearly 1,800 kilometers, between 1998 and 2023. The inauguration of Africa's first high-speed rail line between Kenitra and Tangier, 190 kilometers, in November 2018, and the commissioning in 2011 of the Rabat-Salé tramway, in 2012 of the Casablanca tramway, and in 2024 of the Casablanca busway. In the port field, the following advances should be noted. The commissioning, in 2007, of the Tangier Med port, ranked, in 2023, in the top 20 of the largest global container ports and is the first container port in Africa and the Mediterranean in terms of volume. The launch, in 2016, of the construction project of the port complex, Nador West Med, located on the Mediterranean coast less than 250 miles from the Strait of Gibraltar, whose commissioning is scheduled for early 2025. The launch, also from 2016, of the project of the future port, Dakhla Atlantique, whose commissioning is scheduled for early 2029 and which meets geostrategic and economic and social development objectives of the southern provinces of Morocco. As for airport infrastructure, Morocco currently has 24 airports, 18 of which have an international posture. 3.2. Designing strategies and plans, implementing structuring projects. The Moroccan model promotes high-potential construction sites as a prerequisite for any development. The implementation, in 2008, of the Green Morocco Plan made it possible to establish agriculture as an engine of economic growth, to strongly develop exports and to fight against poverty in the rural environment. To make the agricultural sector resilient and sustainable, Morocco has started a new strategy called Green Generation 2020 to 2030. The 2009 to 2020 Halides Plan constitutes the first integrated strategy for fishing and aquaculture in Morocco, aimed at the sustainability of the resource, the performance and competitiveness of the sector. The implementation of this plan had the effect of doubling, between 2010 and 2021, the GDP of fishing and exports of seafood products. The proactive policy of valorization and transformation of mineral resources, pursued since the early 2000s, has allowed Morocco to hold 20% of the share of the world phosphate market, 38% of phosphoric acid and 26% of phosphate fertilizers in 2022. Page 11. Since 2009, the kingdom has had at its disposal a new model based on energy efficiency, which aims to save 20% of energy consumption by 2030 and to increase the share of renewable energies in the national electricity production capacity to 52%. Currently, this share is close to 40%. It is home to several wind farms, in particular, that of Tarfaya commissioned in 2014, considered the largest in Africa and since 2018 one of the largest global complexes for electricity production from solar energy, NOR, with a capacity of around 600 megawatts. With its Morocco offer, announced on March 11, 2024, Morocco intends to place itself in the club of countries with high potential in the future hydrogen sector. It could capture between 4 and 6% of the global green hydrogen market by 2040. Morocco has adopted a set of strategies that have allowed the development of Morocco's global professions, namely, the automobile. Morocco has established itself, in the space of a decade, as a player in the global automotive industry. It has been listed, since 2021, in the top 25 car manufacturers in the world and second in Africa. Aeronautics. In just 2 decades, Morocco has been able to integrate the closed circle of global aeronautical subcontractors and occupy the first rank in Africa in this field. Agri-food. Representing nearly 24% of the added value of the industrial sector, this industry occupies a prominent place in the structure of the Moroccan economy, because of its contribution to food security, job creation, growth and trade. Textiles and leather. The leading provider of industrial jobs in the country with a share of 25%. This sector is in the restructuring phase and the adoption of new business models aimed at customizing production according to demand and promoting eco-responsible production. Electrical and electronics. This sector has experienced sustained momentum over the last 2 decades thanks to the emergence of better integrated subcontractors and the increase in the share of electronics in downstream sectors, for offshoring. Morocco is the 30th best global destination in this field and the second best destination in Africa. The two strategic visions, 2010 and 2020 at the tourism sector level, have made it possible to make Morocco, with 15 million tourists in 2023, the second African tourist destination after Egypt. Morocco, which initiated the process of liberalization of its telecommunications sector in 1999, occupies, in 2023, the first position in Africa in terms of digital connectivity, in particular, thanks to an internet penetration rate of 88%. It has gained 30 places between 2003 and 2022, in terms of its international positioning under the e-Government Development Index. Page 12. 3.3. Promoting investment, yes investment, always investment, this is the royal motto in economic matters. This has made it possible to maintain the national investment effort above 30% of GDP, a level similar to that in force in emerging Asian countries, thanks to a strong contribution from the state budget, public companies and the Hassan II Fund for Economic and Social Development and to the conduct of multidimensional reforms aimed at removing structural obstacles obstructing the investor's path, building confidence and creating a favorable climate for investment. The aforementioned reforms have contributed to the improvement of Morocco's international positioning. In 2020, it occupies the 53rd position on a global scale in terms of ease of doing business. In 2022, it is among the 20 most attractive countries by the best cost on a global scale and in the top 3 advanced African countries in terms of structural transformation of the economy. Morocco launched the implementation of the new investment charter in 2022, as well as the operationalization of the Mohammed VI Investment Fund, created in 2020. The objective sought is to direct investments towards the strategic priorities of the kingdom, to maximize the impacts of public investment, in particular in terms of stable job creation and equitable development of territories, to promote private investment and to raise its share to 2/3 of total investments by 2035. 3.4. Improving logistics competitiveness. Morocco set up, in 2010, a strategy for the development of logistics competitiveness by 2030, with the objective of reducing the weight of logistics costs in GDP from 20% to 15%, a level equivalent to that recorded by emerging countries. This strategy has enabled the modernization and optimization of logistics chains, the installation of numerous international groups and the development of logistics activities of private and public Moroccan operators. Since 2017, the kingdom has been included in the top 20 global emerging agile logistics markets, a ranking established according to the development of the logistics sector in 50 countries on the basis of 4 criteria: internal logistics assets, external logistics assets, the business climate and the degree of digital readiness. Morocco is at the top of the ranking of African countries. In addition, the kingdom occupied, in 2021, the 20th position among 159 countries in terms of maritime connectivity. Page 13. 4. The anchoring of the principle of solidarity in the daily life of the kingdom. Solidarity means generosity, sharing in the community of responsibility towards the other, the one whom life has installed in precariousness or forced to moral misery and poverty. The kingdom concretizes its solidarity on a daily basis through programs to strengthen social cohesion and territorial equity, regular solidarity actions with the Palestinian people, military medical missions by the Royal Armed Forces and regular participation in UN peacekeeping operations. 4.1. Strengthen social cohesion and guarantee territorial equity in Morocco. Because it constitutes a centuries-old tradition, the culture of solidarity is no stranger to Morocco. His Majesty King Mohammed VI advocates its revitalization and renewal thanks to the emergence of a modern and streamlined version of mutual assistance, which is based on the following elements. The Mohammed V Foundation for Solidarity, inscribed in a partnership logic, in particular with associations, is the linchpin of the kingdom's social policy. The National Initiative for Human Development, set up in 2005, has played a crucial role in the fight against poverty, precariousness and social exclusion. thus contributing to the improvement of the Human Development Index score by 17% between 2005 and 2021, between then going from 0.58 to 0.68. It accelerated the implementation of programs aimed at the rural world, which started in the mid-1990s and made it possible to generalize access to drinking water and electricity and to promote the opening up of rural areas. Integrated development strategies are designed to meet the needs of the rural world, often affected by drought and climatic hazards, to address the social deficit suffered by poor urban neighborhoods and the most deprived municipalities, and to help people in great vulnerability. At the urban level, two programs were launched in 2004, the New Cities program with the objectives of relieving congestion in large cities and eliminating the considerable deficit in social housing, and the Cities Without Slums program, which allowed the reduction of the share of the urban population living in slums from 8.2% in 2004 to 3% in 2019. In addition, during the 2000 decade, new urban development schemes were implemented, such as the new Urban Development Master Plan for Casablanca in 2009 and the Development Plan for the Boregrig Valley, launched in 2006, which allowed the metamorphosis of the capital, Rabat. Page 14. Being in a seismic zone, Morocco has had to deal during the last 2 decades with the damage caused by natural disasters, in particular, the 2004 earthquake in Al Hoceima and that of 2023 in the Al Haouz region. It now has the National Strategy for Natural Disaster Risk Management 2020 to 2030, with 3 objectives, namely, improving knowledge and risk assessment, promoting risk prevention in order to increase resilience, and strengthening natural disaster preparedness for rapid recovery and effective reconstruction. 4.2. Being constantly in solidarity with the Palestinian people. President of the Al-Quds Asharif Committee since 1999, His Majesty the King proposes an international approach for the resumption of negotiations for a just and lasting peace in the Middle East, and, beyond the priority dimension of this cause for Muslims, expands the requirement of solidarity to all those who are concerned by peace. Morocco's efforts are deployed within the UN and UNESCO, Al-Quds being the cradle of celestial religions and symbol of peace and coexistence between cultures. In addition to the restoration of several mosques in Palestine and the inauguration in 2015 of the Hassan II Faculty of Agronomy, destroyed during the current Gaza war, solidarity with the Palestinian people was materialized by the following elements: the signing of the Appeal of Al-Quds by the Moroccan sovereign and His Holiness Pope Francis, on March 2, 2019 in Rabat, whose objective is to preserve and promote the specific multi-religious character, the spiritual dimension and the particular identity of the Holy City. The mediation of Morocco, in July 2022, for the opening, without interruption, of the Allenby, King Hussein border crossing, connecting the West Bank and Jordan. This initiative has had a positive impact on the daily lives of Palestinians and has facilitated the movement of people and goods. The granting, on a humanitarian level, of regular aid by Morocco to the Palestinians through the Beit Mal Al-Quds Asharif Agency. 4.3. Providing international assistance. Morocco is a committed actor in terms of international solidarity. Since its independence, it has constantly participated in peacekeeping operations within the framework of the UN, sending Moroccan contingents to many theaters of operations and paying particular attention to the overall stability of the African continent. The implementation of the centuries-old tradition of solidarity is being renewed through the deployment of field hospitals, articulated with the contribution of civil society, in respect of human values. Page 15. 5. The concern for future generations. Humanistic. The royal vision has a strong perspective and anticipatory dimension. It aims to promote and immunize the social body, to strengthen Morocco's vocation as a citizen country of the world and to put the planet at the heart of the kingdom's concerns. 5.1. Promoting and immunizing the social body. The Moroccan social body is inseparably linked to all spheres that are the objects of royal attentions and high orientations. To educate and train, by decreeing as a national priority the reform of education, which was based on the Charter of Education and Training of 1999, advocating the generalization of schooling, on the Framework Law of 2017 on the qualification of human capital on the basis of equity and equal opportunities, and on the Roadmap 2022 to 2026 for a quality public school for all. The vocational training system has undergone a transformation. The most recent achievements lie in the launch of the Cities of Trades and Skills program at the level of each region of the kingdom. At the end of 2023, 4 cities of trades and skills have been opened in the regions of Souss Massa, Oriental, Layun Sakia El Hamra and Rabat Salikanitra. The public university system has developed within parallel the opening of private universities in several cities of Morocco in the decade 2010. The objective is to make the university a modern space for intellectual development and a force for proposals to face the challenges of the 21st century, including the emergence of the world of artificial intelligence. To be concerned about the health of the population, through the construction of several new university hospitals, the beginning of the promotion of mental health and the adoption, in 2022, of the framework bill relating to the overhaul of the national health system, which is based on 4 pillars. The choice of a new governance, which aims to strengthen the regulatory and control mechanisms of health actors, the valorization of human resources, the rehabilitation of the care offer and the digitalization of the health system. This overhaul of the health sector comes in a context where Morocco has been recognized internationally for its good management of the COVID-19 crisis. The rapid action of the Moroccan authorities, under the leadership of His Majesty King Mohammed VI, had really made it possible to curb the spread of the virus and to achieve one of the lowest case fatality rates in the world as well as one of the highest cure rates. Faced with this crisis, a great impulse of national solidarity and a return of trust in the institutions have revealed themselves. Page 16. Significantly improved the condition of women, thanks to the Modawana of 2004, a real social revolution, the object of which is to free women from all forms of injustice that they suffer, and which is being reformed, in perfect accordance with the ultimate goals of Islamic law, Sharia, and the specificities of Moroccan society. The Constitution of 2011, which introduced parity between men and women as well as the lifting, in 2011, of Morocco's reservations on the United Nations Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination, with regard to women. Morocco adopted, in 2021, a law setting the quota for women on the boards of directors of companies listed on the stock exchange at a minimum of 30% in 2024 and 40% by 2027. In addition, the National Investment Charter, launched in 2022, encourages projects that promote women's participation. Invest in youth, the true wealth of the nation, by conducting integrated public policies, which prepare the future of young people, which make it possible to fight against unemployment, which expand their participation in politics and which instill in them the values of positive citizenship. To master the religious field and fight against obscurantism, through the sanctification of the singularity of the religious model of the kingdom, based on the commentary of believers, the specificity of the Sunni Malikite rite and the values of Sufism and which advocates an Islam of the middle ground. A proactive reform of the religious field was born in 2004, based on laws, dedicated institutions, the restructuring of the ulama councils, the delimitation of the perimeter of the promulgation of fatwas, the training of imams and the revision of traditional teaching in Islamic education. The kingdom, faithful in this to its secular tradition and ancestral cult links with the Sahel countries, is invested in the protection and promotion of Sunni Islam, moderate, tolerant and open, historically prevailing in the region. 5.2. Morocco, a citizen country of the world. Today's world is plagued by multiple and complex crises, the outcome of which will shape the features of the world of tomorrow. Terrorism and the migration problem are not the least of them. Faced with this reality, Morocco, in view of its pivotal position between an African continent that emits migratory flows and a Europe that strengthens its borders, has deployed the following actions. Implement a migration policy with a human face, based, since 2013, on the values of solidarity, reception and respect for the rights of migrants and erected as a regional model of responsible and solidarity management of the migration phenomenon. This policy has regularized approximately 50,000 sub-Saharans since 2014 and has favored the choice of Morocco for the future installation in Rabat, in December 2020, from the headquarters of the African Migration Observatory. Page 17. The kingdom, whose sovereign is leader of the African Union on the issue of migration, presented at the 30th Summit of the African Union, on January 29, 2018 in Addis Ababa, an African Agenda for Migration, which assumes an inflection point, a redefinition of migration based on a more positive approach and a concrete political will of the states, while having the interest that migration is done in security, legality, regularity, order and respect for human rights. He co-chaired, in 2018, with Germany, the World Forum for Migration and Development and hosted, in December 2018 in Marrakesh, the UN Intergovernmental Conference for the Adoption of the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly and Regular Migration. To eradicate terrorism, thanks to a global mobilization via a global approach, for the benefit of developing countries, to protect the world against this scourge but also to the strategy pursued by Morocco following the terrorist attacks in Casablanca on May 16, 2003. This strategy has made it possible to dismantle more than 210 terrorist cells since 2002. Its realization required the establishment, in September 2011, of the General Directorate for the Security of Information Systems to fight, among other things, against cyber terrorism and the creation, in 2015, of the Central Bureau of Judicial Investigation, whose mission is to fight against banditry, terrorism, narcotics or weapons trafficking and to ensure the security of the state. Morocco is a stakeholder in the International Coalition to Combat Terrorism and Religious Extremism. It has co-chaired, for 3 successive terms, the Global Forum to Combat Terrorism, jointly with the Netherlands between 2015 and 2019. With Canada from 2019 to 2022 and with the European Union since September 2022. The Office of the United Nations Programme for the Fight Against Terrorism and Training in Africa was opened in 2021 in Rabat. Morocco is solicited by several traditional and emerging powers for cooperation and coordination in the field of intelligence. The kingdom is considered a credible partner for NATO in the field of the fight against terrorism. Page 18. 5.3. The Planet at Heart. The sovereign clearly expresses the kingdom's concern for the future of future generations, in particular with regard to the management of natural resources, the protection of the environment and the fight against the effects of climate change. The solution lies in the search for sustainable development, by turning to a low-carbon economy and innovation. To manage natural resources, the water sector, 50 new large or medium-sized dams have been built since the accession of the sovereign to the throne and 20 others are being built. Wastewater treatment and reuse projects have been initiated. Seawater desalination projects have been launched from 2019 in several coastal cities of the kingdom. In addition to this, the implementation of the National Program for Drinking Water Supply and Irrigation, 2020-2027, to deal with the urgency of water security as well as the establishment of water highways and hydraulic interconnections between water basins. Fisheries resources. The Haludis Plan has been based, since 2009, on 3 strategic axes, namely sustainability, performance and competitiveness. Forests. They have been the subject of several programs since 1999. The most recent concerns the Forests of Morocco 2020 to 2030 strategy, which aims to make the forest sector more competitive and sustainable. The coastal area. In 2015, the law was promulgated, which specifies the principles and rules for an integrated and sustainable management of the coastline with a view to its protection, enhancement and conservation. The National Coastal Plan was adopted in 2022 with the aim of reconciling environmental protection and economic activities. The Oasis System. In 2004, the National Strategy for the Development and Management of the Oases of Morocco was elaborated, followed by the creation, in 2010, of the National Agency for the Development of the Oasis Zones and the Argan Tree. On the occasion of COP22 in 2016, the Sustainable Oases initiative was launched in order to strengthen the recognition, preservation and development of the Oasian heritage, as well as to mobilize the necessary resources to achieve these objectives. Page 19. Protecting the environment. A precious inheritance that we receive and that we have the duty to transmit to future generations. For the preservation of the environment, Morocco proceeded to the creation, in 2001, of the Mohammed VI Foundation for the Protection of the Environment, the elaboration, in 2014, of the National Charter for the Protection of the Environment and Sustainable Development, the launch, in 2016, of the Blue Belt Initiative, the establishment, in 2017, of the National Strategy for Sustainable Development and the beginning, in 2020, of the process of elaboration of a long-term low-carbon strategy, Morocco 2050. To combat the effects of climate change, at national level, the fight against the effects of climate change is manifested through an active policy of renewable energy development and the gradual introduction into sectoral strategies of adaptation to climate change. Since the climate crisis is the ultimate injustice, which affects developing countries, especially the least developed African and Latin American states as well as small island states, Morocco's international action consisted in the launch, on the eve of the Paris Agreement, by His Majesty King Mohammed VI and President François Hollande, in September 2015, of the 10-year appeal, which advocates strong, collective and solidarity-based action in favor of the climate and the organization of two conferences of the parties, COP, on climate change, namely, COP7 and the COP22. Thanks to the far-sighted vision of His Majesty the King, the kingdom is, in 2023, in the top 10 of the most successful countries in the fight against climate change.